Snoop Dogg wine, okay. For shizzle.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve, and I do not have a frickin' clue what this video is going to be about this week. I have no ideas, though I might just look through. I wrote some notes down for times when I don't have any ideas, so maybe I'll go with one of those. I just don't know, but I'm filming because it's a compulsive thing to film. And also, this heat vision effect with the little styrofoam tube around the camera is making for some interesting first jazz album that you bought. So like I said, hand-me-down records, that a lot of those that I listened to. But the first one I actually remember buying in a store, this was in a thrift store, and I was a kid, and picked it up. It was Miles Davis, Miles in the Sky. And this is, fusion is just kind of way off on the horizon here. It's got Herbie Hancock playing electric piano, Fender Rhodes, Wayne Shorter, Ron Carter, Tony Williams, George Benson plays some guitar on one track, and it's a good one. It's a good one. I remember seeing, reading the credits, and it says piano and electric piano, and I heard that Rhodes, and I'm like, oh, that's what an electric piano sounds like. But isn't putting a piece of styrofoam on the camera lens really what this is all about?
Yay, woot woot for Bargain Bin Records. It's all about Bargain Bin Records. Okay, this next one is not really a Bargain Bin record. This is a reissue that I paid for. Hapshash and the Colored Coat, featuring the Human Host and the Heavy Metal Kids. And this is not the OG that's on red vinyl. This is the A Karma label reissue. And if you like just freaky random hippie records, if you like Amandul 1, you will like this record. These guys were actually, as you can tell by the cover, in England, these guys were poster artists who just kind of dabbled in music. So it's got a real amateurish kind of feel to it. And Guy Stevens was involved, who went on to produce Mott the Hoople and The Clash later on. This is a freaky and wonderful record. This is, a lot of people think the band is Joyride. The band is actually Friend Sound, and the record is called Joyride. And I think they had something to do with Paul Revere and the Raiders, but this literally sounds like they just took a bunch of drugs and went in the studio and just turned on the tape machines. But it's kind of ahead of its time. I mean, there's some long improvised jams. There's a track called Child Song, which is like ambient music. It's like a little glockenspiel playing and field recordings of kids in a schoolyard. And real nice song called Love Sketch. So, yeah. Friend Sound Joyride. This is in the freaky catalog, kind of like this is in the freaky catalog, kind of like the Habshash and the Colored Coat that I talked about last time.
Baby, take a look around, 'cause baby, the world ain't round, it's square. Baby, the world ain't round, it's square. Yeah, a couple videos ago I was talking about how heavy the vinyl is on this pressing of this Dinosaur Jr. But I figured it out. They used like a whole dinosaur's worth of oil in every copy.
1910 Fruit Gum Company. Of course, the bubblegum music guys. This is a later record of theirs. It's called Hard Ride. And as you can see by the cover, they're kind of going into like biker movie soundtrack kind of territory. It's right up there with any Mike Curb produced biker movie soundtrack. Just, you know. Much pretentious bullshit, but if I were to talk about it, I would be an asshole, and no comment. Okay, so that's what the holes in the box set were for. That's cool. First off, this is a record it would be logical to assume was not that big of a deal because it's on Tops, which was like one of those bottom-feeding, straight-to-bargain bin labels from the 50s. And most of Tops releases were like 78s with cover versions of hit songs. How would I describe this? I mean, it's lounge music, obviously. Multiple instrumentation by Danny. So let's see. Okay, so imagine Les Paul and Mary Ford, except that Les Paul plays the violin and Mary Ford is Jessica Rabbit. That's the Adventure in Sound vibe. It's but this is a little bit crackly, but you know, just finding it in the wild, it's pretty cool. But it's got some songs, you know, it's got Peaceful in the Country, Cherokee, Georgia on My Mind, I'll Remember April, and then there's instrumentals with titles like Mosquito Festival and stuff. And it's spectacular. It's a hi-fi spectacular. It's an adventure.
In your lungs.
One of my favorite albums is Ore by Alexander Skip Spence. And if you're not familiar with that, Alexander Skip Spence was in Moby Grape. He was briefly in Jefferson Airplane playing drums, and he was kind of a Syd Barrett-y character. And he had an episode, and he made a very introspective solo album of songs he wrote while he was in the hospital called Ore. And I found this. This is called And Or Again. And it is a 3-record set of outtakes from the Orr sessions. And I guess they never thought it was possible, but they found the tapes, and it is cool. I like how they made it look like the old school Columbia records. Alright, another band that I always liked, and I saw this record and I grabbed it. So, Black Mountain. This album, Destroyer. It sounds a little different from their other albums, and I did some research. It's from 2018, and they got some new members in the band. I think different drummer, and yeah, a few members swapped around. And it's just as psychedelic as the other Black Mountain albums, but it's got a kind of a hard-hitting rock sound to it too. And you know, looking at the Spotify's and Rate Your Music's, this does not get as much love as their other records, but it's got some good moments. And I like the four-way speaker kind of rising up out of the sea like 2001. So yeah, Black Mountain, stoner rock, and you know what that means. It means it's metal.
In your lungs.
Oh no, you can't leave yet. You gotta have a nice cup of tea with me.
Drinks, satisfying and refreshing. They're so good.
music, of course, it has so-called backmasking music that says Satan is Lord. There's some music, of course, that has so-called backmasking music that says Satan is Lord. You know that's not right. If you hear somebody called, there's some music, of course, that has so-called backmasking music that says Satan is Lord. You know that's not right. If you hear somebody called Black Sabbath or some of the names that those groups have had when they're out blaspheming Jesus and mocking the things of God. There's some music, of course, that has so-called backmasking music that says Satan is Lord. You know that's not right. If you hear somebody called Black Sabbath or some of the names that those groups have had when they're out blaspheming Jesus and mocking the things of God, when they're based on drugs. You know, the Beatles did a whole lot of drug songs in the old days. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was LSD, and the Mother Mary came to me, let it be. Well, Mother Mary is marijuana, you know, marijuana.
Supreme stoned baked crust pizza. You and me both, pizza. You and me both.
55 Franklin 5.
I've been working too long to get a clown. Action.
This ship goes where I want it to go.
Security, take them both to the brig.
Freeze. Alright, I gotta figure out a way to get more comments on my video to help the algorithms. One thing I seem to notice other YouTubers doing is like pretending to be dumb so that people can correct or enlighten them in the comments. I mean, I've fallen for that a bunch of times. So, there's a try. What is this thing? I don't know. I found it in the garage, but I don't know what it is. Does anybody know? I just want to hold this one up to the window, just see how cool it is. It's got the etching on one side, and it's clear, so the etching like shows through when you hold it up to the light. And another one I almost forgot about that's silver and shiny. Platinum Jazz by War. And this is a double album, came out in 1977, around the same time as their Greatest Hits album, with similar artwork. This was the companion album. It's a double album with more of their longer tracks, and it's some of them are new to the album, and some of them are from previous albums, but slightly different mixes, edits. This band is called Pungent, and the record is called The Blotched Moon. And I had no idea what to expect, but this is really, really, really cool. It's kind of a funky jazz quartet. Green Grass and High Tides. Southern Fried Rock. Okay, this is interesting. Song of the Second Moon on Limelight. The Sonic Vibrations of Tom Disavelt and Kid Balton. And I'm like, oh, I know these guys. And it's on that collectible Limelight label. I didn't know they made another album. Turns out, it's this same album that I talked about in another video. They just reissued it with their real names instead of the fake band name Electrosonics. And, well, this one's in mono, this one's in stereo, and they're both scratched up in unique ways, so I may as well keep them both. A lot of Frank Zappa. I have both because Frank went back and remixed all of his stuff when he put them out on CD. So the CDs and the original vinyl are always a totally different mix. So a lot of them I got both so I could compare and contrast. Other times I would get, if it's a double album, you know, I'd get, if it was all the whole album on one disc, I would get the CD so I could hear the whole thing.
This is another one that always turns up in bargain bins, and it's a pretty interesting record. This is Peter C. Johnson. I guess it's from 1978 or 1979, and sometimes they list the album as unique as the title, but I think it's just the hype sticker saying, hey, this guy is unique. And it talks about how he recorded the album in a home studio, piece by piece. And I could see why this wasn't big, because he doesn't really fit into what was going on around that time. It's not punk, it's not disco, it's not new wave, it's not corporate rock. It's just, it's this kind of one-man band with synths and drum machines, and he kind of sings like a very heavily sedated Bob Dylan. But there's some good catchy songs, and there's some really tasty guitar solos by Nils Lofgren on this record. And I don't think this thing sold at all, because every copy of this I've ever seen has been a white label promo. And it's not on streaming, so you gotta just, get it if you find it. Alrighty then, that is my video for this week.
No, Mr. Cornelius.
The Dark Age is ending.